You're live.
Okay, we're going to call to order the Planning Commission meeting. It's Tuesday, May the 26th, 2020. It's right around 5 p.m. I am in the mayor's conference room, along with Sean, and others are at the Zoom meeting. Roll call, please. Who's going to take the roll call?
That's me. Sorry. Mr. Avery.
Present.
Mr. Buttarf is on vacation. Ms. Bupp, not present. Mr. Burns.
Present.
Mr. Webb.
Present.
Mr. Paris.
Here.
And Mr. McCutcheon.
Here.
We have quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point in time, I would ask that if everybody had a chance to look at the May the 5th, 2020 minutes, if they are acceptable, I will move for approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion we approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Avery. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Paris. All those, we'll have a roll call, please.
Mr. Avery.
Approve.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Mr. Paris.
Aye.
Mr. McCutcheon.
Aye. Okay, we're going to move to approve the docket. There is some changes to the docket that we need to make known. PC-2011, 2020, 2021, 2024, and 2025 have all been requested to table. And with that, we would start with 2023, but we would like to table 11, 20, 21, 24, and 25. Is the board okay? Can I get a approval to approve the docket?
I make a motion to approve the docket as with modifications.
Okay.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Catch that, Sean. Who is the second, please?
Aye. Webb.
Mr. Webb. A roll call, please.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Mr. Paris.
Aye.
Mr. McCutcheon.
Aye.
Mr. Avery.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Therefore, we will start with PC-2023. Jim Calvary with Nickley's Development filed a rezoning application for property in the 3700 block of East 10th Street. The property is zoned C2 PD, which is commercial. The proposed zoning is to revise the existing planned development. The docket number is PC-2023. Do we have representation?
Yes, Jim Calvary with Nickley's Development, 6060 Dutchman's Lane, Louisville, Kentucky, 40205.
Thank you, sir. Feel free to tell us what you're doing.
Okay. We have the property behind the Kroger that we've kind of put on hold. It was called I believe we called it Area 6, Planning Area 6.
That's correct.
And
I can talk.
it's surrounded by railroad
And I can't hear anything either.
Oh, turn it up over here.
by railroad and trees. And we've had a lot of requests lately, I think largely due to the residential boom that's going on out right now for many warehouses, many storage, outdoor storage, many warehouses, climate controlled. And we knew initially we didn't kind of have that out on the front. We had a request to put it out front, and we also agree it's not something we wanted out front, but we do see a need for it. So we thought that placing it in the back where we could have it surrounded by trees and kind of out of sight, so to speak, would work well and keep 10th Street the way the city has it planned currently. That's part of the proposal. And then the second part to the proposal to the PD is right now, we're only allowed to have one tall sign out on 10th Street. And with the placement of the fence and everything else, the remaining monument signs were getting a little hard to see. And so the city did go ahead at their initiative and rectify that for all the monument signs that are out there for the outlots. But for the uses in the back, we wanted something a little taller. And when we initially put the ADU together, some of you might recall that the Lander Miller group, they're a residential home building group. We bought part of the property from them. They own a piece in the back that we have to give them access to, which is straight off of Schlosser Farm Way. And the Ways property, which is just to the north, I've got my directions correct, just to the north from a plan view, just to the right of that property. We have to give them access as well, which we've done. We also agreed when we purchased the properties to give them signage out along 10th Street. So not only will allowing those signs to be a little larger and taller, by taller they'll be able to be seen, and larger we'll be able to not only come true on that commitment to give those folks signage so they don't have to request more signage from the city, but it also gives us the ability to have signage as we continue to develop out the properties to the right and north of the Planet Fitness. And last thing that I'll say is, and I'll answer any questions, we'll, again, like we always have, work with the neighbors. We've kept, there's actually 135 feet on the plan that was submitted with the application from the building to the residential lots to the left or to the south. So we've got a huge buffer area. And I'll, again, like I've done all along, I'll walk and continue talking with the neighbors, and if there's anything in specific any of them need, we'll take care of that. We'll also be submitting to the city a development plan that'll meet your all's code for this area when we're ready to move it forward. And then for the signs out front, we'll again submit sign applications to the city to ensure they meet all of your all's codes.
Okay, thank you. At this point in time, we'll open up for public comment. Is there any letters or anything received, Chad, on this one?
We got a number of calls about this, but no one had any real complaints. Everything seemed straightforward to them, or it didn't really affect them.
We were able to answer their questions.
Correct.
Shelby, anything downstairs?
There's nothing downstairs.
Thank you. At this point in time, we'll close public comment. Does the board have any comments, concerns, or questions for Mr. Calvary? If
When would you
not,
start?
we're seeking either a favorable recommendation, an unfavorable recommendation, or no recommendation to pass this on to the city council. Do we have anyone that would like to make a motion?
Mike,
I have a question.
he wanted to say.
Okay, who is it?
When would you all start, once you get approval on this, hopefully you will, but when would you start construction on this? I mean, is it be a month, year, 5 years, 6 months?
No, actually, we've hired a Milestone Development Group to do, and Heritage Engineering. They both worked on it to start looking at the soils and the geotech work. And once we get approval, we'll turn them loose on the civil drawings. And honestly, David and I spoke today, and we'd like to do a press type notice as soon as possible. So to answer your question, I anticipate we would be under construction on the site within 2 months.
Completion year?
It'll probably take a year, yeah, to get it completely done. It's, I think we've got about 12, 13 acres back there, and we'll have to go through, all the jurisdictions. So yeah, you're right. It'll probably take right at about a year to completely do it.
Well, I know the city's short on storage space, and with this being behind Kroger, it's sort of hidden, and there's not many people want to build by side of railroad tracks, so I think it would be good for the city.
Appreciate that. We did get a lot of interest, especially, once that Ellingsworth Commons, I think is what it's called, that big residential development across the way. So yeah, I think you're obviously right.
Thank you.
Also, please, we'll make it known that Ms. Buck joined us about 5:04, so she's present at this point in time also.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything that they would like to ask? If not, I'll entertain a motion, favorable recommendation, unfavorable, or a no recommendation as we forward this on to the city council.
I'll make a favorable recommendation that we approve.
I have a favorable. Do I have a second?
Second.
Get one, Sean. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Webb,
Aye.
Mr. Paris,
Aye.
Mr. McCutcheon,
Aye.
Mr. Avery,
Aye.
Ms. Buck,
Aye.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Calvert.
Thank you all.
Moving on to number 2, Chase Murphy filed a rezoning application for a property at 120 Fairview Avenue. The property is zoned M1 residential, and the proposed zoning is an R3 residential. The docket number is PC-20-26. Do we have representation here with us today?
We do, but he doesn't seem to be at his computer at the moment.
Was that the Amy Murphy guy?
Yes.
We got a little bit of time.
I've got his cell phone number. Would you like me to buzz him and see where he is?
Yeah, that might be good.
In the meantime, Dewar, can you sing or anything like that?
Do what?
Paris, Les.
Les? Les
In the
wants me
meantime,
to.
Dewar, can you sing or entertain or anything like that?
I mean, do you guys want me to talk? I think I have to abstain on anything for Chase, don't I? So, but you actually want to comment about something's going on? Gosh, I thought you said I talked too much.
This is your chance, Stuart.
I know.
There he is.
There he is.
Oh, there we go.
Unmute him so we can hear you.
Oh,
You're still muted, Chase.
there we go.
Sorry, trying to multitask.
We're ready for you.
Okay. Well, basically, we're just trying to take, I think it's 7 pre-platted lots and turn them into 5 platted lots. So basically make the dimensions a little wider. I think it'd be a down zoning. It's currently zoned multifamily, so we're wanting to go back to single family. That's the long and the short of it. Over off Fairview Avenue in Jeffersonville.
You find this to be a more fitting for this area? What you're trying to do?
I think so. I mean, I think the argument is anytime you can do single family versus multifamily, it's typically favorable. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say yes.
Okay. So at this point, we'll open up for public comment. Any letters or anything from the public that we need to take in consideration?
We worked with Mr. James Bennett, who lives at 201 Fairview Avenue. He had a number of comments, concerns about the development, specifically drainage issues and traffic. But he initially wanted to speak at this meeting. We gave him some steps to do so, but he hasn't really gotten back to us. I know that we've also put it with engineering regarding any drainage issues. So he may have spoken to engineering and gotten his questions answered there.
Okay. Shelby, anything downstairs?
No
Oh.
comments downstairs.
Okay. At this point in time, we'll close public comment, and at this point, we'll open up for the board. Does the board have any comments, concerns, or questions for Chase?
No, I'm glad we always go from multifamily to single family. That's good.
I think Les should I abstain or do I don't have a direct interest in that. Does it make any difference?
What's your, I mean,
Chase has listed some property for me now and then and does things. So, but he owns a real estate company, but I don't have an economic interest.
I think
Will-
as long as you don't have an economic interest.
That's what the attorneys all say. And then I will say too, that location to be building new down there in Fairview and single family is a significant infill and significant update. I think it'd be a great project. I think it really enhances that part of Jeffersonville.
Thank you. If there's no further comments, we're seeking a motion for a favorable, non-favorable, or no recommendation to pass on to the city council. If there's no further comments, concerns, or questions, if anyone would like to make a motion, we'll entertain it.
I make a motion to forward the rezoning request PC 20-26 to the Jeffersonville City Council with a favorable recommendation as presented to the Plan Commission on May 26, 2020.
Second.
And Ms. Bupp seconded. We'll take a roll call, please.
Ms. Bupp,
Aye.
Mr. Avery,
Aye.
Mr. McCutcheon,
Aye.
Mr. Paris,
Aye.
Mr. Webb,
Aye.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
I think we got one. We have the preliminary plat then with you. Yeah.
Okay. So Chase Murphy filed a preliminary plat application for a property at 120 Fairview. The property is zoned M1 residential. The proposed development is a 5-lot subdivision. The docket number is PC-20-27. Do we have representation?
Yes.
Chase, again, go ahead. Tell us what you're doing.
Same thing. I'll just make it short and sweet. Just trying to downzone a multifamily property to single family and do 5 single family lots.
Okay. At this point in time, we'll open up for public comment. And do we have anything on this one?
I mean, just the same as
The same questions and stuff. Okay. Shelby, anything downstairs? Okay. Does the board have any comments, concerns, or questions? If not, we're looking for a motion to approve or deny the preliminary plat.
I make a motion to forward the, I'm on the wrong one. Let's go to the next. I make a motion to forward on with a favorable recommendation.
We're going to approve or deny.
Oh, approve. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Approve.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the plat. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Paris,
Aye.
Mr. McCutcheon,
Aye.
Mr. Avery,
Aye.
Ms. Bupp,
Aye.
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Shelby, I got to be back here at 7, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you don't need me in between there.
No.
Back
Okay.
at 7.
My wife came out yelling and kicking me all the way back to the house. Said, "Hurry up and get back here." I'll be back at 7. Thank you, guys.
You then.
Okay, see ya.
Okay, moving on to the last thing on tonight's docket. A text amendment to the Jeffersonville zoning ordinance was submitted for recommendation to the city council. The proposed amendment is to revise miscellaneous sections of Article 7 of the zoning ordinance. The docket number is ZO-20-05. Do we have representation?
Yes, Chad Reichel, Director of Planning and Zoning for City of Jeffersonville. We started putting some ideas here together before the whole COVID-19 situation, our intent was to clean up some standard issues that we've had at River Ridge, including loading docks, entrance drives, and lighting standards. As we've had a little bit of time while we were all sort of in quarantine here, we've taken a look at some other miscellaneous sections of Chapter 7 where we've had some problems in the past, and brought to you sort of a comprehensive update of Chapter 7. In the past, you guys have seen a sign code update, a landscape code update, and some updates to accessory structures and such. This kind of rounds out Chapter 7, if you will. So we've taken the liberties of, increasing some of the parking lot lighting heights in the industrial districts to 35 feet. So we don't have those variances all the time. And some foot candle calculations within the industrial districts. We have also, like I said, changed the loading standards language so that we've given some exceptions for loading in front of buildings in industrial areas, especially when there's more than one street frontage. And then we've gone into the entrance drive standards, sort of better organized that for clarity, and made sure that industrial zone districts are treated differently from the residential and commercial zone districts. Again, as we are constantly getting calls for wider entrance drives at River Ridge and other industrial developments. From there, we've worked in a number of other changes into these into this article. We've eliminated the expressway buffer standards. We noted that the last 6 or 7 projects that have built along the expressway have all asked for a waiver of this variance from this standard. So apparently the development community doesn't really want it. It doesn't really make sense to any of them, and so it probably doesn't make sense in our code. We took a few stabs at the parking standards, especially in the multifamily districts. We get constant waivers and variances for parking in those districts. We've pretty much matched what they are doing over in New Albany in terms of reducing the multifamily parking to 1.5 spaces per unit instead of 2, and tweaked the visitor parking ratios as well. We've also done a few parking reductions in the downtown commercial and the neighborhood commercial. Previously, those had the same requirements that all the suburban developments had in terms of parking counts. And as we all know, in downtown, we have a street grid with lots of on-street parking. We have lots, and we have a lot of people walking around. So it doesn't really necessarily benefit us to require the buildings in the downtown to have the same amount of parking. So we've basically done a 50% reduction for anyone in the DC and the NC. We have also, one other sort of weird thing that we've done here, we noticed that Article 7.25, which references adult uses in Jeffersonville, still reference the standards from 1995, even though a new ordinance had been created in 2004. So we updated that language and then cleaned up a few other issues in that item. That sort of gives you the broad overview of all these what we consider pretty minor changes to Article 7. Are there any questions?
I have a few questions about the parking.
Yes.
Standard. So, for example, the apartment complex that's being built downtown, will they have a certain number of required parking spaces for that particular unit? Or are you saying that it doesn't have to be in any given unit like that, that it has to be a certain number or less? How do you calculate that?
So apartments downtown will
God
meet,
bless you.
they'll still have to meet the parking requirements so if it's, if it's zoned M3 or zone DC, they will still have to meet the general parking requirements, but then they can take sort of a 50% reduction.
So anybody that would rent down there would not necessarily have their own parking space or parking area. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, we're not forcing someone to, but we're not necessarily forcing the developers to cut that by half, but we are allowing them to. Does that make sense? They can provide, they can provide the required one per unit if they so choose, I mean, they can't really get below 1.1. They can't really get below one space per unit.
Right. That's really my question, that there'll at least be one parking space allotted to one resident. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, they can't pick and choose. They can't say, well, we have 200 residents and we're only going to provide 100 parking spots. Come as, first come, first serve. So I'm just concerned about downtown parking and all the building that's going on down there and where people will find to park if they're not required to have some sort of parking within the structures that are being built.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Opening up for public comment. Was there anything that we had questions? And I'm pretty sure that there's nobody downstairs to speak on that. Is that correct, Shelby?
Correct.
Okay. Closing public comment. We will, does the board, are there any further comments, concerns, or questions for Chad? If not, we're seeking a motion. This is going on to the city council. We will forward it on with a favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation. If anybody would like to present us with a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve, sweep forward on with a favorable recommendation, the ZO-20-05. Is that the correct number?
ZO-20-05. We have a motion for a favorable recommendation. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Paris.
Pick one.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Mr. Webb,
Aye.
Mr. Paris,
Aye.
Mr. McCutcheon,
Aye.
Mr. Avery,
Aye.
Ms. Buck.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, that was the last thing that I had on the docket. Chad, do you have anything to add?
Well, I have two things here that I wanted to just bring to your attention. We are in the process of bringing you one more of these zoning code updates. It's specifically an action to clean up Article 5 and Article 10, especially as they relate to the overlay districts here in the community. There is a bunch of there's some missing information. There's some details that need to be clarified, and really sort of desperately needs to be reorganized. Right now, the information is in two different places, and it would be much easier for us to get information out to developers if all of that overlay district information was in one location. So we are planning to bring that before you at the next meeting, so look forward to that. We'll also be looking forward to getting rid of the pitched roof requirement in the commercial corridor. So, because no one wants to build pitched roofs. And then also, I think next month, you'll be getting an update from the planning and zoning staff. We are gearing up here in our office for a full zoning code update in the next year. That zoning code update will actually be the development of what's called a Uniform Development Ordinance, a UDO. That will merge the zoning code with the subdivision control ordinance. So those two documents, the zoning code, which of course was done in 2001, and the subdivision control ordinance, which was done prior to that, I believe in 98, will be pulled together in one document and will make things a little easier to use. So you will be finding out more about that at our next meeting next month as we sort of kick off this year-long process. I know that city budgets and such are tight given the COVID virus, so the planning and zoning department has really done a lot of work in the background, and we're going to tackle ourselves. We feel that we have the time, the staff, and the know-how to get this done and taken care of without hiring an outside consultant, which would probably cost us in the range of $125,000 to $150,000. So I think that we'll be helping save the city some money in that regard and putting together a pretty good product that's not too terribly different from the zoning code that we have right now, but in terms of the way it looks and the way it functions, but will be better organized and a little more up to date with some of the current development trends that we're facing. The other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention, and I'm going to share my screen here if I can. We have recently, this is a map here of the corner of Utica, Sellersburg, and Newell Road. The movie theater is sort of off the screen to the bottom. The new movie theater is off to the screen to the bottom, and Highway 62 is on top of the screen. But we have about 20, there are 20 residential units at the corner of Utica Sellersburg Road. They are single family units, and for whatever reason, they are all zoned C2, which is the same zoning classification as, say, a Target, a Walmart, any of that kind of big box retail. Gentleman on the corner here really wants to add on to his house. And unfortunately, single family residential is not allowed in a commercial zone district, so it's making things really difficult for him. We did some research, and we have realized that when this was back in the county prior to 2008, all of this had been zoned R2. This is a drawing from the county's records. All of this had been zoned R2 in the county, so we're not sure why it had been changed to C2 in our designation. So we're looking to bring forth a rezoning of these 20 units, and I'm hoping to have sort of the Plan Commission's blessing on sort of a group rezoning of this property. I wondered if anyone had any questions.
You're saying all of those properties, they're all single family, or that's how they're currently zoned? Huh.
They're all single family residents, but they're all zoned C2, or large scale commercial.
Do you think that could have been a mistake, Chad, when they got annexed in?
I mean, it was really either a mistake or someone had, intentionally made some, someone intentionally had some idea that maybe this was going to develop some way. But I don't think you're ever going to be able to buy up 20 to make them commercial. And I don't think that what we also don't want is we don't want someone in the middle necessarily to suddenly come to us tomorrow and say, hey, I'm opening up some kind of contractor's office in the middle of this, single family subdivision, if you will. But it would be legal. So that's kind of an issue.
Are all the residents in that area, are they familiar with the zoning, and do they know what the problem is here?
Well, it came to our attention because the gentleman on the corner right here on Utica Sellersburg. I mean, I guess I've noticed that it's always been zoned C2, but didn't really become a problem until someone came to us and wanted to do something with their property. And so it's kind of difficult for him. I have no problems rezoning his property, but I also feel it would be odd to rezone his property and not fix the error for the other properties.
Yeah, if it's determined to be an error, I would say you have to do with the whole area, not just his property.
I would say so too.
Well, are we opening something up there? Because are some of those well, I don't know what to say there, because you would have to contact those residents. Wouldn't we have to contact those and let them know what's going down? Because I'd imagine some of that property that's in my district that would be worth more as commercial. Not that all that area would be bought up, like you said, but in that intersection right there.
Well, I go with the original intent rather than it being a mistake. So I'd favor on the side of if we could establish the intent as it was designed to be, rather than look at it as it might be a mistake. So if it was always supposed to be in presumed to be single family residences, I would say you'd have to err on the side of that.
Well, and I think the bigger issue, and well, I don't know, it's a bigger issue, but this final drawing is from our future land use map, which shows it, continuing to be a single family residential neighborhood into the future. So somehow there's some discrepancy between the zoning map, what it was zoned before, and the future land use map.
What's on the adjacent sides of the property?
So to the west, I guess, if you will, this is most of Bridgepoint Commons, which is developing as commercial. But again, I think the issue is that, would someone actually be able to come up and buy every single one of these in order to build something there? It would be really difficult, I think.
So, Chad, probably what you're looking at is that would remedy the current usage for those existing residential plots. Those plots, the one in the corner looks like it has contiguous usage across the street that would have on the other side of the road would be commercial, and it's got road frontage on two sides, so it might be a better usage for that parcel if it could be utilized for commercial in your analysis.
I mean, you could argue that corner property, I mean,
it's sort of somewhat different than the interior properties.
I think you're right in that regard. I think the issue is that we have Bridgepoint Commons, and then we have Jefferson Ridge, and we have the Kroger property, all sort of developing as commercial within a mile and a half of this property. I don't know that there's enough demand for commercial to sort of warrant someone to even attempt to start buying some of these up.
It would be a very, very outside sort of potential use. It wouldn't be anything short term. Would it probably the wisest method then to change these to the residential classification, except for if there is something like this one that would actually benefit the area, to have it as a commercial usage on that particular property? I mean, would it be a dual process, would change the others and leave that one, or allow certain standards for it? Because looking at two sides there, that might be sort of a buffer or a good utilization for that corner. And it will have a higher value, as Steve said, that's for sure.
Are you talking about the property, Dewar, that the gentleman called that's concerned?
Yes. If that is beneficial to the area and beneficial to that property, would that be harmful to leave that as a commercial usage if you met your standards and then change the other ones?
Well,
that would
Does he
make
want to do
everybody.
something for his home, or is he intending to do something with a commercial nature to it?
Residential.
he is intending to add on the back of his home and add
Oh.
on rooms to the back of his home and then build a garage. But of course, you have 25-foot setbacks in any.
So he's not thinking about wanting a commercial usage. He just wants to
Right.
improve his residential usage. Okay.
That's what I thought.
And my guess is that some of the, I think some of the local residents might not necessarily approve of some commercial development going right there on that corner.
I misunderstood what you thought then. He's just basically utilizing other improvements for the continued residential usage, but he's got to have that zoning change to proceed.
Correct.
I think one of the problems that existed was that several years back, there was a planned development for the wooded area at the end of that street. If we change this road to a residential, does that cut off access to the properties back in there for commercial development? Because when we talked about this several years back, they didn't want to bring their entryway off of Utica-Sellersburg Road. They wanted to come straight in through the, possibly through the subdivision into their property. Does this cause them problems down there where you're circling?
Sorry, are you talking about this woodland area that's to the south
Yes.
of?
There was a commercial development at one point in time that was considered or was being looked at, and they wanted the capability to access that residential road to get to their property to run semis in through there.
Oh, I remember that.
If we can include this as residential, are we cutting access off of that road?
Actually, we aren't. We aren't necessarily because we've now created Godbrath Parkway, and Godbrath Parkway is the property that now feeds that property, if you will.
So they would have better access off of Godbrath than they would through the
Trying to go
residential.
through this subway. Yeah. So the movie theater is down in sort of the farthest corner of my screen here, and they've recently cleared the trees, a lot of the trees on this site, for future development in association with the movie theater. So all the access for that property is going to be off of Godbrath and not through the neighborhood.
Well, that was at the time when we discussed the project. Godbrath wasn't in any way, shape, or form in that condition or extended like it is now. Therefore, the residential area, I could see a change in that area not being a factor as long as they can access it from another direction.
Right.
Mike, but should we notify all those other residents? Because, I mean, I know that area quite well. Like most of you guys, that property is worth more commercial than it is residential.
Well, I don't know that I would agree with you on that because each of those properties is so small and there is such a large number of them that would be hard to agglomerate enough of them to do a large commercial development. So
But that whole area is only like 200 yards off commercial.
I mean, it's true. I think that some of the properties that are closer to Godbrath, which I haven't, there's there's 3 remaining properties in between these 20 and Godbrath. And I mean, those might be more valuable, I think, as zoned commercial. But I feel like these interior ones that are on these small cul-de-sacs and such, probably not.
We're not taking any action on this today. This was just brought up, that this is brought up to inform us to what is expected ahead. So to some extent, there's some information that can still be gathered and input from those individuals that can probably be acquired as we move forward down the road.
I may ask the Planning Commission for a motion to continue studying this issue and bringing forth a public hearing in the future.
Okay. Is that what you intended to do today?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, what Chad has proposed is for there to be further discussion. They would ask that the board, or a hearing, that the board be, I guess, favorable to move forward as down the road. Tell us how you want to put it, Chad.
I would like a motion by the Plan Commission to recommend holding a public hearing for the rezoning of parcels at the southwest corner of Utica Sellersburg Road and New Chapel Road.
Gotcha. And that gives the public the opportunity to come forth before the board and present their likes or dislikes.
And we will send notification and all of that to the neighbors and so forth as our current process, our current standard process. So yeah.
How are they notified? I'm just curious. Are they notified by letter or
And
just?
we will notify them all. Well, we will notify them all by mail. Yes.
Okay.
Good.
I'll entertain a motion if somebody'd like to make a motion.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Ms. Bupp. Roll call, please.
Mr. Avery,
Aye.
Ms. Bupp,
Aye.
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
Mr. Webb,
Aye.
Mr. Paris,
Aye.
Mr. McCutcheon.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Any further, Chad?
No, that is all I have for you today. It ended up being a little bit shorter meeting, so.
Mhm. Did you make any comment about, or I don't know if I missed it, about whether or not we'll be doing a Zoom meeting the next time or if we'll be in City Hall?
I'm not sure exactly what's going on quite yet, but we will keep you informed. Sort of depends on where we're at with the governor's opening of Indiana. So
Right now, he is, his latest order permits virtual meetings through June 13th. And at that time, there will be a new order. We will wait and see what the governor does.
Okay, good.
I'd like to thank everybody. We appreciate you taking the time to Zoom with us. I think we had a successful meeting.
there you go. And those of you who are on Board of Zoning Appeals, we'll see you at 7.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.